All right. So, first team, low value alpha.
Do we have to start immediately, or? Yep. Okay. Hi, we're Low Team Alpha. Please, page next. Okay, so one of our main statistics that we found from our data is that around 20% of users drop off before finishing half the course. The real question is, why are we allowing students to get left behind? So from our first graph here on the left, you can see that per chapter, the number of students who drop off per chapter number. Thus, on average, 1 to 5% of students drop out every chapter. Now, the way that we are approaching our data is making sure that we look at those who don't succeed versus the successful parameters of a successful student. Thus, we coin that we are using the anti-survivorship bias. For those who don't know, the survivorship bias was found from World War II planes who were dissected after the war, and only those who were surviving were able to be gleaned. Thus for us, because we are using those who weren't able to be successful, we are making sure that every student is successful at course kata.
So how do we define success in this course? We prize the students' persistence and commitment to staying through the entire course, because we notice a lot of students who may have begun with lower EOC scores still stay through the entire 16 chapters. So we just wanted to emphasize learning over the long term for the sake of learning instead of grades. And so we calculated students dropping off by finding total students who competed or completed each chapter and finding the differences within each chapter. So we defined these differences as the students who dropped off at that chapter. And then we made a correlation matrix, and you can see the top row is the dropped off chapters, and you can see that the correlations that correspond with the dropped off chapters are the top row. The blue represents a negative correlation. And so the top right corner just represents the question types, and so we can see that there's a negative correlation between dropped off chapters and the question types. And then you can also see the other variables like number of attempts and tried again clicks have very low correlation.
Next, please. So with these leads, we run a linear regression model on some of the question types. For this linear regression, we ran choice matrix, choice matrix, MCQ, and plain text. So for each one, we ran a linear model to predict the relationships between the number of each type of question per chapter and the number of students who dropped out per chapter. So as the top left is the most important part, it shows that with less questions, more people stay throughout the entirety of the course. And as we follow that model, as we put more questions in of each type, less or students drop off earlier in the textbook.
So we test the significance of our results by extracting the p-value, and we found that it's very close to zeros for all three types of questions. So this shows that our statistics is very significant. Yeah.
In fact, after further investigation, we found research on student samples that basically exhibited that open-ended questions were associated with higher cognitive burden and stress. And so this helped us look at, or caused us to look at plain text specifically with the aim of understanding how students who drop off interact with the open-ended and plain text questions.
So based on the literal research that we did outside, we also test the correlation between the average length of student response on the plain text questions, and see the correlation between that and the drop-off rates on a sample data set of 200,000 rows. And we can see that in this scatter plot over here, the more student writes, the more they will stay committed in the course, and the students who are left behind or drop off early often feel very unmotivated to write and more likely to drop off.
So with these findings that student retention is associated with like less questions and specifically less plain text questions, we obviously can't say just don't put any more, like take out all of the questions, but we use this to inform our recommendations.
Our first recommendation is to alter the website to have fewer, more intentional plain text questions. While plain text questions do serve the purpose of reviewing materials and assessing knowledge, having too much of them can overwhelm users and deter them from progress. Our second recommendation is to provide notifications after long idle time. This would prompt users to re-engage if they're inactive for a long time. Sorry. Our third recommendation is to create an opt-in widget after disengagement to survey the design of the site. Although the survey at the beginning of each chapter allows students to evaluate their confidence, it doesn't offer specific insight on how the course content contributes to learning. And so we want to inquire about factors such as, is the content hard? Is it hard to read? Or are the questions hard? In that way, we can instead of focusing solely on the student perception of themselves, we can focus on how to improve the website. And so overall, we want to focus on the students who are left behind, and we want to encourage their survivorship and success. Thank you.
What she said.
All right, I think we'll do questions at the very end, maybe is easiest. Yeah. All right, so thank you. Ellen has kindly volunteered to be our timekeeper. She's going to be waving a white piece of paper over here when you have 1 minute left, and then we'll rudely stop you if you go over.
All right, and in the last category, the Don Ilvasaka Best Insight Award. Don Ilvasaka was a long-term member of the Statistics Department, in fact, a founding member of it, and he was known for his remarkable insight into statistical problems, and this award is in his honor. The honorable mention in this category is low alpha value. All right, and so we have one last award to give, but before we do that, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognise the organisers of DataFest who have done an incredible job this year, as they did an incredible job last year, and I'm sure they'll do an incredible job next year because they're that good. Anyway, so I'd like to point out Linda Zotaran. Yay! And Rob Gould. Excellent. So the winner of this award is Dino Data.